This video is sponsored by the book summary app, Blinkist. Use my link in the description and you'll receive a 7-day free trial and 40% off Blinkist's annual premium membership. All things are created and destined to be broken someday. I think being broken or damaged is never a bad thing. Kyokawa Hiroki. If we are one of the luckier ones, when we are very young, we mostly assume life will be smooth. Our innocence imbues us with the ideals of stability and perfection. The structure of existence has not yet been blemished, cracked, or broken. We assume life will mostly continue this way, in this form, all the pieces neatly in their place. Of course, this is only if we are lucky enough to have not already been scathed or damaged in young age, which many of us are. Whenever the bad times do come for us, or whenever we experience our first real traumatic event, it can leave a bruise, a scar, or it can completely break us. The causal event or period of time can be self-inflicted, accidental, or the product of others' cruelty or indifference, be it of strangers or people that are supposed to be there for us. Whatever the case may be, when these moments happen or these times come, naturally, we want nothing more than for them to be over with. Then, when they hopefully do pass, we want nothing more than to forget about them. We want the good times to come back or finally come at all. But in this, though totally blameless and understandable, we might find ourselves pretending that the bad times or negative events never even happened at all. Consciously or unconsciously, we might repress, deny, rationalize, ignore, and so on. But repression, denial, and ignorance rarely absolve us from the effects of the events or times we are attempting to repress or deny. Even if we are not fully aware of the effects or their source, they can often endure. The renowned psychiatrist and author, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, is one of the world's foremost experts on trauma and trauma recovery. In his groundbreaking book, The Body Keeps the Score, van der Kolk refers to his decades worth of trauma-based scientific research and therapeutic practice, exploring various forms and sources of trauma, as well as methods of treatment and recovery. Van der Kolk's work notably illuminated the clear relationship between physiological events and states and psychological experiences and behaviors. In particular, he explains how the body functions as a sort of scorecard or memory bank for information absorbed during traumatic events. This absorbed and integrated information subsequently calibrates or recalibrates one's neurological functions, affecting one's perceptions, thoughts, and behaviors. The stored information is most notably expressed when triggered by experiences of physiological sensations reminiscent of the original traumatic event or events. Van der Kolk writes, "We have learned that trauma is not just an event that took place sometime in the past. It is also the imprint left by that experience on mind, brain, and body. This imprint has ongoing consequences for how the human organism manages to survive in the present. Trauma results in a fundamental reorganization of the way mind and brain manage perceptions. It changes not only how we think and what we think about, but also our very capacity to think. In order to begin to recover from these traumatic events and the psychophysiological imprints left behind, van der Kolk says that we must not ignore, deny, or repress the reality of these imprints and their sources, but rather we must acknowledge, accept, and embrace them with self-compassion, and then participate in activities and beliefs that foster strength, self-assertion, and reintegration." Van der Kolk writes, "As long as you keep secrets and suppress information, you are fundamentally at war with yourself. Hiding your core feelings takes an enormous amount of energy. It saps your motivation to pursue worthwhile goals, and it leaves you feeling bored and shut down. Only after you identify the source of these responses can you start using your feelings as signals of problems that require your urgent attention. The critical issue is allowing yourself to know what you know. That takes an enormous amount of courage. The impulse to reject or deny anything that represents negative time periods in our lives, bad qualities in ourselves, or terrible events in our past is extremely understandable, both from a natural self-preservation perspective as well as a social and cultural perspective. Particularly in the Western world, we seem to want to so relentlessly hold on to that naive, childlike idealization of perfection. We want things to be perfect, uncracked, unbroken, and eternal. We deny the reality of things, the fact that everything is imperfect, cracked, broken, and transient. Particularly in the West, things are valuable if they are in pristine condition. Things have been fixed if we don't see the marks of their repair. But perhaps this view, in at least some sense, is itself broken and dysfunctional. Perhaps there is some value in at least considering an alternative view." Looking in the opposite direction of the West, we might look to one Japanese art and philosophy that beautifully embraces the flawed and broken experiences of existence, known as Kintsugi. As an art, Kintsugi is a method of repairing broken ceramic ware by mending the pieces back together using lacquer mixed with powdered gold, or sometimes silver or platinum. The term literally translates into golden joinery. Although the precise origins of the technique are unknown, it is believed to have possibly begun around the late 15th century after the Japanese shogun Ashikaga Yoshimasa broke one of his cherished tea bowls. When Yoshimasa sent the bowl to China to be repaired, it was returned to him with metal staples holding the broken pieces together. Though functional, Yoshimasa, in at least this version of the story, was not pleased with the brutish, ugly look and feel of the bowl. The repair looked forced and cold, like it was denying the fact of its damage, and like it was lacking attention and care. And so, Yoshimasa instead called upon Japanese craftsmen to assist him in repairing the bowl again, this time in a manner that was more aesthetically pleasing. The bowl was then returned to him again, now with the broken pieces artistically incorporated into a new design, the lines and fragments where the bowl had been broken now being embraced and accentuated with gold lacquer. Presumably, this time, Yoshimasa was pleased, and the art of Kintsugi began. Ultimately, this not only led to the development of Kintsugi as an art, but also as a part of philosophy. Kintsugi emerged alongside and is associated with the Japanese philosophy known as wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi is a philosophical worldview that embraces the value of transience, imperfection, and incompleteness, both from an aesthetic and ontological perspective. Rather than fighting these qualities, wabi-sabi places them at the center of its value structure, seeing them as beautiful and necessary. Kintsugi, of course, embraces and expresses these values perfectly. Practitioners and followers of wabi-sabi believe that Kintsugi ceramic ware becomes more beautiful, more valuable, and more desirable than the original unbroken vessel. The brokenness, when embraced and artfully mended with patience and effort, becomes part of its unique shape, unique story, and unique value. Rather than trashing the piece and resisting the damaging event, through Kintsugi, the gold lacquer illuminates and reveres the damage as a natural and unavoidable part of existence. The decay of time, the uncertainty of the world, and the fragility of being. Perhaps even more significantly, the gold lacquer often makes the ceramic ware stronger, adding reinforcement to otherwise weak areas. As humans, arguably, we can work according to the same process of Kintsugi, or at least we can try. We are anti-fragile beings who, with the right attention, care, and practices, can, at least sometimes, become stronger after damages and shocks. When discussing how various systems in nature and technology can become stronger as a result of chaos, disorder, and damage, the author and statistician Nassim Nicholas Taleb writes, "Anti-fragility is beyond resilience or robustness. The resilient resists shocks and stays the same. The anti-fragile gets better." The process of Kintsugi visually shows this to us. It reveals to us the maturity and beauty found in accepting the events that damaged us. It symbolizes our ability to endure and sustain in the face of these events. And it showcases that with patience and the willingness to repair and build from them, we can remain functional, beautiful, and potentially even become stronger. Of course, outside of the analogies of ceramic ware and the simplicity of prose, actually recognizing, embracing, and going through this process is extraordinarily difficult. The damage we may have sustained may be more severe than what any one person can reasonably overcome on their own. And often, for all of us, damage can be hard to see from the inside. Professional help can be, and often is, essential, and we should embrace this too. Ultimately, brokenness and suffering is a lacquer that coats over and connects us all. If we make it past those first few innocent years of life, we will inevitably be scratched, stained, and likely knocked off the counter, broken into several, if not many, many pieces. We will each be used and damaged by life, by ourselves, and by others. But we can each choose to try to acknowledge our pieces on the floor instead of sweeping them under the rug. We can pick them up and inspect them. We can patiently see where they fit, and we can place them back in their rightful position, mending them with self-compassion and acceptance. The process of acknowledging and embracing one's own suffering, imperfection, brokenness, and transience not only improves the quality of one's experience of their life, but it also aids one in the ability to help and connect with others and the world. We begin to recognize more and more the suffering, imperfection, brokenness, and transience of all things. And in this, we can perhaps begin to better connect the individual pieces of our lives to the whole melting pot of existence, contributing to its strength and beauty. Our individual suffering may be a spectrum, but our unification through it can perhaps be absolute. van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps the Score, can be an intense read, but its value for people dealing with various pains, mental, physical, or both, as well as for individuals who have friends or family who are, can be immeasurable. The book illuminates things like the commonness of trauma, the nature of flashbacks and traumatic memories, and the effectiveness of certain treatments, as well as activities like yoga and mindfulness for the purposes of rewiring the brain. A great way to determine if this book is for you, or if nearly any major nonfiction book is for you, is with this video's sponsor, Blinkist. With Blinkist, you can learn from over 7,500 nonfiction books and podcasts across tons of different categories in as little as 15 minutes each. By beautifully curating, organizing, and summarizing books, which can be both read and listened to, Blinkist makes it unbelievably easy to discover and understand key insights from books without investing tons of time into reading the full versions before you know if it is even what you're really looking for. With recommendations and guides led by experts, you'll be able to not only discover new insights, but also better determine what books you want to go on and read fully. Whether you're interested in psychology, science, philosophy, or essentially anything, Blinkist has you covered and helps you fill in daily moments with learning and transformation. Based on an internal study using survey data from Blinkist customers, over 80% of users say they've replaced doom scrolling with Blinkist and gone on to make positive changes in their lives. Better yet, you can easily share your improved habits and knowledge with your friends and family by using Blinkist's feature, Blinkist Spaces, where you can help and motivate each other by sharing and organizing the best books you find. Use my link in the description or scan the QR code and you'll receive a 7-day free trial and 40% off Blinkist's annual premium membership. And of course, as always, thank you so much for watching in general, and see you next video.